there's the former championship player, Danny Manning of the Kansas Jayhawks, cut down his portion of the nets.
Daniel Ricardo Manning, aka Danny Manning, born May 17, 1966. In the spring of 1988, college basketball witnessed one of the most iconic single-player runs in tournament history. A lanky 6'10" forward with fluid footwork, a silky jumper, and deceptive athleticism, Danny Manning carried an underdog Kansas squad all the way to a national championship, earning the nickname Danny and the Miracles. He wasn't just the best player in the country that year, he looked like the future of the NBA. The Clippers believed it too, selecting him number 1 overall in the 1988 NBA draft, handing him the keys to a struggling franchise desperate for a savior. And with his size, skill set, and basketball IQ, Manning was built to deliver. But in one cruel twist, just 26 games into his rookie season, his knee gave out, and with it, the future everyone expected for Danny Manning disappeared. Injuries are a tragic part of basketball, but some hurt more than others. Manning's ACL tear didn't just cost him one season, it reshaped the entire arc of his career and the Clippers franchise itself. Gone was the confident, explosive scorer who could glide across the floor and dominate mismatches, and for the moment, gone were the Clippers' rebuild as well. What returned was a skilled, crafty version of his former self, still capable, still valuable, but a step slower and far less impact than he once promised. While he would make 2 All-Star teams and win 6th Man of the Year in 1998, it always felt like he was playing catch-up to the player he used to be. By the time his 15-year career ended, Manning was respected but not revered, remembered but not celebrated. His college glory remained untouched, but his NBA career faded into a cautionary tale of what could have been. And even as he tried to rebuild his name through coaching after retirement, success proved just as elusive on the sidelines. Danny Manning wasn't a bust, he wasn't even bad. But when your name is mentioned among the greatest college players of all time and you're drafted first overall to be a franchise cornerstone, good isn't always enough. And for Danny, the gap between the promise and the result became a wound no surgery could repair. This is the story of a miracle worker whose career was stunted by cruel timing, fragile knees, and the weight of expectations. What happened? Let's talk about it. Salute to HCTP on IG for this request. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth. Let's get it, man. Take a minute to like, subscribe, and comment on who I should do next. Danny Manning was a 6'10" forward from Greensboro, North Carolina, who emerged as one of the most complete high school players in the country. After transferring to Lawrence High School in Kansas, where his father worked as an assistant coach at the university, Manning stayed local and joined the Jayhawks, quickly becoming a foundational piece of the program. Over 4 years, he scored over 2,900 career points, won the Wooden and Naismith Awards, and in 1988 delivered one of the most legendary NCAA tournament performances ever, leading an unheralded Kansas team to a national championship. His poise, versatility, and leadership made him a consensus number 1 pick in the 1988 NBA draft, taken by the Los Angeles Clippers. Viewed as a can't-miss future star, Manning was expected to transform the struggling franchise with his unique blend of size, skill, and basketball IQ. Instead, his pro career would be tested immediately in ways no one saw coming. Stunt number 1, the torn ACL that changed everything. Just 26 games into his rookie season, Danny Manning's career shifted in a way no one could have prepared for. On January 4th, 1989, he tore the ACL in his right knee, a devastating injury at the time, especially before modern sports medicine had fully advanced. For a player who relied on his agility, fluidity, and ability to stretch the floor as a big man, it was the worst possible break. Manning missed the rest of the season, and though he returned the following year, something had changed. He was still skilled, still smart, but the explosiveness, quickness, and overall mobility that once made him a matchup nightmare were noticeably reduced. His game would now have to evolve into something more calculated, less instinctual, and more methodical. And while Manning had the IQ and footwork to adjust, he was never the same weapon he was in college. What makes this moment so tragic isn't just the injury itself, it's the timing. Manning was entering the NBA during a window where dominant power forwards were redefining the game. Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, Shawn Kemp. Manning had the tools to join that group. He was the rare big who could score inside and out, pass out the high post, and lead fast breaks himself. But that ACL tear robbed him of his rhythm and set the tone for a career repeatedly disrupted by injury. In total, Manning would undergo multiple surgeries throughout his career, never completing a full 82-game season. The physical toll not only limited his production, but also stalled his development into a true franchise player. From that point forward, he was forced to constantly adjust to his body, his role, and the disappointment of knowing the version of himself the league drafted never truly got a chance to exist. Stunt number 2, never reached the superstar tier he was projected to. Before the injury, Danny Manning was expected to become one of the NBA's next great forwards. His game had shades of finesse scorers like Kevin McHale, with the fluidity of a guard and the feel of a seasoned vet. Coming out of Kansas, he wasn't just the number 1 pick. He was seen as a franchise cornerstone, the type of player you could build an entire system around. But once the injury dimmed his athletic edge, Manning's ceiling dropped significantly, and he never fully reclaimed the trajectory he was on. He put together solid seasons, most notably in 92-93, where he averaged 22.8 points and 6.6 rebounds per game for the Clippers and made the All-Star team. But it was clear by then that Manning was more of a very good player than a great one. He wasn't changing the identity of his teams, and he wasn't elevating his franchises the way true superstars do. Whether it was the injury or a quiet demeanor that didn't scream alpha, Manning slid into a secondary role even as the main man on bad teams. The Clippers remained near the bottom of the standings throughout his tenure, and when he was traded to the Atlanta Hawks mid-season in 1994, his decline into a supporting piece became permanent. He bounced between Phoenix, Milwaukee, Utah, and Detroit, becoming a respected veteran but never the centerpiece he was projected to be. For a player who once led a group of underdogs to an NCAA title, almost single-handedly, the idea that he couldn't anchor a playoff team in the pros was disappointing. Ultimately, Manning became known more for what he could have been than what he actually was, his name often followed by the phrase, "if he never got hurt." Stunt number 3 faded into a role player. As the years went on, Danny Manning's role continued to shrink. By the late 90s, he was no longer a starter, just a useful veteran off the bench. In 1998, he even won Sixth Man of the Year with the Phoenix Suns, averaging 13.5 points in a backup role. While that would be a career highlight for most, for a former number 1 pick and NCAA legend, it symbolized something else, that Manning had officially transitioned into a player meant to support greatness, not to lead it. It wasn't that he lacked skill, his fundamentals were sharp, and his basketball IQ was respected around the league, but his body had long since betrayed his star potential, and his style, deliberate, mid-range heavy, and reliant on positioning, wasn't dynamic enough to carry teams in a rapidly evolving NBA. He became a journeyman, playing for 5 different teams in his final 6 seasons, mostly logging under 25 minutes per game. The explosive forward who once ran the floor like a guard was now a floor spacer, occasional post option, and veteran voice in the locker room. Even worse, the promise of his early career had become a distant memory. When casual fans mentioned Manning, it wasn't about dominance, it was about longevity. He played 15 seasons, but none ever came close to recapturing the electricity of 1988. And while he remained respected in the locker room and among coaches, his stunted NBA arc meant his name was rarely brought up in discussions of all-time greats, despite arguably being the best college player of his era. Danny Manning's fade into role player status wasn't just about injury, it was about unmet expectations. The NBA never got the miracle worker, it got the survivor, and even that came with scars. All in all, Danny Manning's story is one of both greatness and grief. He reached a level of success in college few ever will, but his NBA career will always carry the shadow of what might have been. A torn ACL at the wrong time forever altered his path, turning a projected superstar into a respected role player who had to fight to stay relevant. Yet through it all, Manning showed remarkable resilience, carving out a 15-year career, earning All-Star nods, Sixth Man of the Year, and later returning to the game as a coach. Not every stunted journey ends in failure. Sometimes it just ends differently than expected. Manning didn't become a Hall of Famer, but he earned respect the hard way through perseverance. And while the miracle may have ended in college, the man behind it keeps showing up, even when his body and the league moved on without him. Salute, much respect, but for these reasons, his growth was stunted. It's your boy JC, Stunted Growth, and I'm out.